Kale and Selena moments. You would think the captain of the guard would know that by now. And now we already got conflict. Sarah J. Maas really just loves to create words I don't know how to pronounce. Hello, my name is Taylor and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reading Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I just finished Throne of Glass, the first book in the Throne of Glass series, a couple days ago, and I jumped into the second book. I want to preface by saying that I have heard from some people that they actually prefer to start with Assassin's Blade, as it's technically the prologue to this series. However, it's also the third book that came out in the publishing order, so I personally decided to just read it in the publishing order that Sarah J. Maas printed these books and wrote them, instead of going with the prologue and then into the rest of the series. I'm very curious to see though if I'm gonna end up regretting that decision, as I'm now to the second book, and depending on how this ends, I might regret that because I'll have to go into the prologue and then get on to the fourth book, which probably picks up where this book leaves off. I'm really curious to see how I feel about that when I get to the end of this one. For this second book, we are following Selena, the female main character, and she was crowned the King's Champion in the last book, and basically this book is following her duties to the king in terms of people that she's supposed to kill to help bolster the king's plans, whatever those may be, for his kingdom, and basically taking down everybody in his path. And the book also starts off with Selena basically admitting that she's actually not following the king's orders and that she is going on these quests to kill these people, but basically she meets them and is like, I will give you an out and you can disappear completely, tell no one of my name or of these plans, just disappear and I'll save your life. So I read the first 50 or so pages the other night, and that's pretty much where I'm at. She did just get the name of the next person she's supposed to kill, and it's this person named Archer, who she actually knows from her youth, and she is truly questioning the king now, and not that she wasn't before, but she is like, Archer would never do anything to basically get in the king's way and wouldn't do anything suspicious like that, even though he is an assassin himself, I believe. So she's definitely questioning things a little bit more, and she's definitely feeling like there's a lot more to uncover. We've also realized that whole evil that she thought she dispelled in the first book is actually back. She saw what she believed to be a human in a dark cloak in front of the library in the middle of the night, and it kind of just disappeared, and it really freaked her out, and the energy was really weird. So now she feels like she's questioning that again. And yeah, it's definitely starting off a little bit more eerie than the first book in my opinion, but I love that. I love reading a more like eerie, high stakes atmosphere of a book. So I'm really curious to see how Selena is thinking she's going to combat this evil, and if this is going to have anything to do with the word mark that she possesses on her body and her relationship with the deceased first queen Elena, if she's going to come back in this book, and basically how she's going to piece together the evil that's looming in the castle with some of the king's plans and the people that she's being ordered to kill. I am also a bit nervous because on the back of this book, it does say that on a terrible night, the secrets they've all been keeping lead to unspeakable tragedy. Selena's world shatters and she'll be forced to decide once and for all where her true loyalties lie and what she's willing to fight for. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm fairly invested in this series. I definitely enjoyed the first book enough to keep reading. It's definitely not capturing me as much as ACOTAR did, but I also feel as if I keep reading this series, then I will get closer to these characters and have a little bit of a deeper relationship with them, I feel, and I'll want to keep reading, because Sarah J. Maas's works, they're really hard to put down. I haven't read for a few days now, but when I picked this book up, it's so easy for me to fly through 100 pages and not realize where the time went. But this video is going to include some of my reactions to reading and just kind of more like vlog style, as well as some updates on where I'm at in the book, my reactions to those, and just kind of my reviews in general. So this video will contain spoilers of this book, so if you've read it, I'd love to hear down below what some of your thoughts are about it and what order that you read these books in. But if that's kind of your vibe, I hope you'll stick around, and I'm excited to jump back into it. Time for an update because I'm about 24% of the way through, and I just read about 50 or so pages since I started the video. At this point, Celaena and Archer have met and they had dinner together, and Celaena confessed that the king had ordered her to kill him, and he was very frightened and was like, I'll do anything, like I will fake my own death, just give me till the end of the month so I can tie everything up and then I'll disappear. But it also kind of works in his favor because he's like, well, if I don't have to be Archer anymore, I can disappear and then I can be free, because he is a courtesan for Carissa, I think is her name, so it kind of works in his favor to pretend to be dead as well. I'm really interested to see how Celaena and Archer's relationship develops throughout this story, because I could see them being really good friends, but I also have a horrible feeling that something is going to happen to Archer. I hope that's not the case, but I just have like this horrible feeling. It was kind of like in the last book, Nox, I think it was. Celaena and him were really close. I had a horrible feeling about him, but he disappeared in that last book, so I just like don't want Celaena's friends to die, basically. But in the last chapter, in chapter 13, Celaena was poisoned with this paralytic that was on Davis, this guy that Archer said that he was one of the conspirators against the king. They went to this ball. He poisoned Celaena with this thing called Gloriella on a dagger, and he sliced her arm a bit. She managed to escape, and she also sliced his neck with the dagger, so I think he's dead. Maybe not. I'm not really sure if that was mentioned, but she managed to escape. She managed to get all the way to the castle and to Chaol's room where she felt safest, knew he would help, and he stayed with her through the night, was holding her hair while she was getting sick, stayed by her side when she fell asleep. Their relationship, I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. And I actually like that it's a slow burn because it makes every moment like this so much better. But it is, Sarah J. Maas knows what she is doing when she writes a male main character that's like the love interest, someone who is safe, someone who is a protector, someone who does not deny the partner's strength and will and abilities. And I love Chaol. I love Chaol. I love Celaena and Chaol. I'm loving the slow burn between them. it's a little hard to read anything about Dorian looking at Celaena because he can very much see that the two of them have feelings for each other, and they're like both oblivious in a way. Chaol definitely notices his feelings for Celaena, maybe more than Celaena notices hers for him, but it's really interesting to read about. But I just wanted to provide an update since I'm about a quarter of the way through. I'm really enjoying my time with this, and I think I'm already enjoying this more than I did the last book. So, a win is a win. I'm gonna keep reading. Things have been happening. I am to chapter 24 now. I'm 45% of the way through, according to Fable. And chapter 23, we got Chaol and Celaena moments. Chaol and Celaena kiss. They did more than kiss. They have admitted that they very much like each other, and it was also Chaol's birthday. It was this woman who came to the castle arena, and she sang a song about basically this like fae garden or greenhouse, and Celaena surprised Chaol with a dinner there, or like at least an interpretation of that place, and it's really sweet. And Celaena also opened up to Chaol about how she's actually not killing the people on the King's List, and Chaol was really mad at her because she was putting herself at risk, because if the king found out, like, surely Celaena would be in trouble or worse. And that's kind of how they got to talking about how they care for each other, because Chaol was like, absolutely not, like, if you leave, I'm coming with you. And then they kissed because he loves her and is concerned and worried about her. And Celaena this whole time is like, he's basically like home and I feel safe with him. And it was just really, really sweet. And in other news, Dorian has some type of power or a magic stirring in him, because he got really angry at a meeting, punched this stone wall, absolutely no bruises, his hand should have been broken, was completely unharmed, and the stone cracked, a window broke, and it was all away from other people, so nobody saw it except for him. And then there was another moment when he was thinking of Celaena and how he's let her go in the library, and all of the books like flew off the shelves in the aisle that he was in. It was making him panic. He's trying to research why he has magic, if he's the only one in his family who has magic, if it's even that, he doesn't want to call it that. But the last that we heard of him, he was going to go back to the carnival that's in town for his younger brother's birthday and speak to Yellowlegs or something is her name. Some creepy woman that was speaking to Chaol, Dorian, and Celaena when they walked by, and basically was like, I can read your future. So all we can interpret now is that Dorian went to go speak to her and I'm sure that was messy. I don't know if we're going to be getting that soon, but yeah, just wanted to provide an update because Chaol and Celaena are together in a sense, and yeah, I'm so happy. I wasn't sure if we were going to get it in this book because I was just saying in my last update that it was such a slow burn. But I'm so happy. I'm so happy for these fictional people. Love it. Okay, I've read so much today. Probably gonna read for about 20 more minutes, and then I have to go to work. But I'm loving this one so much. I wanted to provide a quick update. I moved upstairs because the AC is on right now, but I read about 20 pages this morning, and so much already happened in those 20 pages. I'm to page 228 now, chapter 29. Chaol was captured by this group of like 30 men who we just found out were working with Archer and Nehemia to basically rally forces against the king. And Celaena busted in, killed a bunch of men, and they just told her that Nehemia is actually in danger, and Chaol knew this. Chaol knew that Nehemia was going to be questioned by the king on this night, and he figured, what's the point in telling Celaena, because it's not going to change whether she's questioned or not. And I don't know if he realized that questioning was actually her being put in danger. You would think the captain of the guard would know that by now. And as soon as he didn't tell Celaena, I had a horrible feeling about that. And Archer was like, yeah, ask Chaol. Chaol knows where Nehemia is. And things have been going so well. Their story just started. Chaol and Celaena's story just started. And now we already got conflict, like, already. So, yeah, in the past 20 pages, it was a lot. Chaol being captured, to Nehemia's life potentially being ended right now. I figured I'd provide an update before I continue reading on. I'm about to leave the house, and then I'll probably come back and read this afternoon, but so much could happen, and I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. So much conflict in this one book. Like, we're only halfway through. I'm only 54% of the way through. Like, what? How much more can happen? There's so much happening. But I love it. Like, it's keeping me on the edge of my seat, and I need that in a book. I need a book to, like, suck me in and make me feel like I can't focus on anything else. Like, that is the true testament to a great piece of writing, and I'm very much feeling that in this book, so I'm loving it. There's so much conflict, so much is happening, but I'm nervous about Chaol and Celaena right now. A little nervous because things just got good for them. Ooh. I think I'm 65% of the way through or something. I am to part 2. I actually only had like 2 or 3 pages left when I created my last update of part 1. I didn't even know it was split into parts, otherwise I would have just finished it there. But Nehemia is dead. She was killed by Grave, who was one of the competitors to be the king's champion. And Celaena definitely kind of went off the deep end. She killed Grave. She tried to kill Chaol, but Dorian managed to stop her with whatever power it is that he has. And Celaena was thrown in the dungeon for a few days. Chaol returned her to her rooms. They have not spoken since, obviously, and yeah, Celaena brought back Graves' head to the king, as well as a list of people that she killed, who she said were like conspirators against the king, and it has just been a lot. It's been a lot in the past 15% or so that I just read, and I'm really nervous that we're not even going to see Chaol and Celaena speak again until potentially the end of this book, if not book 4, because after this book I am reading Assassin's Blade, which is the prologue. So it was the 3rd book published, but I'm going back almost after I read this book to read the prologue, and I feel like I understand why people read the prologue first. That's what the point of a prologue is, but then a lot of other people, were like, oh no, read it in publishing order, because like that's how the author published it. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm scared that if the conflict is not resolved in this by the end of it, I am going to be like dreading reading the prologue, because I'm just going to be wanting to get to the 4th book. And I am so nervous, because I understand why Celaena is mad at Chaol, and Chaol definitely should have confided in Celaena about the king's plans to speak to Nehemia. Obviously, like, he didn't know that she would be like assassinated by someone who had nothing to do with the king. But I'm just like, oh, they just need to talk. And we just got a chapter with Chaol's father is at the kingdom right now, because obviously, like, Nehemia's death has sparked a lot of rebellion movements, even more so. So, I'm so nervous, because this book has been so action-packed, like, from the very first page. But now it's, like, getting to my heart, because now we have Chaol and Celaena not speaking, and then we have Dorian's power. Like, there's just so much left, and there's only 35% left of this book, and there's a lot of loose ends to tie up here, a lot. So I'm really nervous, and this wasn't that quick of an update, but I needed to provide a little bit more context where I'm at, because this is definitely changing some things, I think. I somehow managed to create updates when I have 80 pages left somehow. I don't know. Anyway, I have legit, I think, exactly 80 pages left of this book. I just read probably 47 pages today, and I just got to chapter 45. Chapter 44 was long and very action-packed. Celaena went down to the catacombs, dungeons, hallways, I don't know what you want to call it, that's right underneath the library, and she somehow made her way to the clock tower. She just kept walking, kept unlocking doors with word marks, and basically was going to find whatever this evil that had been lurking in the castle was, and she came face to face with that creature that was cloaked at the beginning of the book, which honestly I forgot about until we got to this part. And Dorian ended up being down there because he was following Celaena, and they managed to kill the thing with word marks, Dorian's power, with the spells from the book called The Walking Dead, which I think is so funny. But yeah, it was a super interesting chapter. And then before that, Celaena had gone to Baba Yellowfangs, I think, Yellowlegs, I think, and killed her. She went to go speak to that witch to ask her about the riddle that's in the tomb, and she was like, I don't trust this witch to not say anything about me or about Dorian and to spill our secrets. And she didn't even know what Dorian had told the witch, just that there's no way that that could get out. And so she killed this witch. And the freaking door knocker that speaks, which love that element in this book, was like, you basically made a mistake killing that witch, because there are witches everywhere and they will find you, they'll find the king. Like, if word gets, you know, if it's connected to you for her death, like, you're basically toast. So I'm nervous for when that foreshadowing is gonna come into play. That was freaky. And then yeah, that I only read like maybe 2 or 3 chapters. It's a lot of pages, I think, but it was just a lot. Very action-packed, ton of information. Chaol did try going to Celaena's rooms. He did go and found a will that had been signed, Celaena's will, and all of her money is signed to Chaol. All of it. Her only request is that he gives some of it to Philippa. And she was like, be too much trouble to change it, get out of my room, basically. Yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster, this book. It is just so packed full of stuff. I love it. Again, I only have 80 pages left, so I don't know if I'm going to create another update between now and the end of the book. But holy wow, that was crazy. I have finished Crown of Midnight. I actually finished this a few days ago. I think I finished it on Saturday and it's Wednesday now. So it's definitely time to give a recap of my thoughts on the book and my thoughts on how the series is going to progress from here. So overall, I enjoyed Crown of Midnight way more than I enjoyed Throne of Glass. Not that Throne of Glass was bad, but this one was so much more action-packed. There was so much more room for the plot to thicken. We also just knew the characters more, and you start to develop stronger connections to those characters. So overall, I really enjoyed Crown of Midnight. There were so many things that happened in this book, though, that really just kind of got your brain to start thinking about how the plot is going to thicken throughout the series. So I've already created a few updates about this, but Nehemia is dead. Nehemia was murdered, and this whole time we thought it was from Grave because of the way that she was murdered, but then at the end of the book we find out that it was actually Archer who did it, and we had reason to suspect Archer for being this kind of suspicious person because he was put on the King's list, and he was the first person at the beginning of this book who Celaena was ordered to murder from the king. But Celaena was like, I know Archer wouldn't be doing anything this stupid. And so then we have suspicions against Archer, and then we start to trust Archer. And then toward the end of the book, you're like, oh, he's actually horrible. He's actually horrible. This video, I've already mentioned multiple times, contains spoilers, but Celaena kills Archer at the end of the book. We see a glimmer of hope that she's going to save him and let him run away and disappear, but then he mutters something under his breath like, I always knew you were a good woman, or something like that. And Celaena stabs him and is like, no, I'm not a good woman, but Nehemia was. And she basically avenges, is that the right word? Avenges Nehemia's spirit by killing Archer? I don't know. But it's also alluded multiple times throughout the second part of the book that Nehemia knew her fate. Nehemia knew that what she was doing was for the betterment of the future of Elwë, if that's how you say it. I have no idea how to say this, like these countries or this continent in this book. Sarah J. Maas really just loves to create words I don't know how to pronounce. Nehemia is basically out looking for a better future for her country, the continent, to basically save more slaves and people who have been oppressed underneath the king. And so Nehemia knew that when she would die, it would basically be because of this movement that she was trying to spark. And we do see a glimpse of that throughout one of the chapters in this book, that there is a slave in one of the camps who kills a guard in Nehemia's honor because they all start to hear of her death, and she was supposed to be like their savior. We also saw the beginning and blossoming and end of Chaol and Celaena's relationship in this book. It was a very short-lived relationship, probably like a week or two, and I mentioned that in an update that Chaol knew that Nehemia was going to be questioned, and basically Nehemia ends up dying, and if Celaena maybe would have known about this, she would have tried to protect Nehemia. So for a good reason, the trust between Celaena and Chaol kind of crumbled, and it was really hard to try to see them try to piece things together throughout the end of the book, because Celaena's not really going to give him the time of day, understandably, and Chaol feels like he deserves it as well. And so it's just been really interesting to see that connection almost wither and then trying to be rebuilt. At the end of the book, Chaol decides to present to the king this offer to send Celaena to this more like fairy accepted part of the continent, or like on another continent. And we also find at the very end that Celaena's actually Fae. Celaena's Fae, so Chaol thinks, here, I'm gonna send her somewhere safer, but like we'll put it under the guise of like this big plan as part of the King's Champion. Like this is this great solution. And then we find, no, because you're sending Celaena to go kill this kingdom, and Celaena's actually related to them. Celaena is actually like the niece of this, or like the cousin of this country, and nobody knows this except for Chaol, potentially Nehemia. It's kind of been hinted at that she knew about this, but Celaena is actually the long lost heir to Terrasen, and Chaol just sent Celaena to go kill like what would be her allies, her family, and there's a lot of suspicions that Celaena exists, but most people think that the heir is dead. But obviously, like, that's not her true name. Her true name is Aelin, so everybody thinks that Aelin is dead. She's not. It's Celaena. It's Celaena. It's Lillian. It's whatever you want to call her. So that definitely leads a lot of interpretation as to what the rest of the series is going to be about, because not only does Celaena have this really heavy past of being an assassin and her parents being murdered and just like then becoming a slave and being captured. There's just a lot of like heaviness and a lot of background to Celaena as a character, but now we see, oh my gosh, there could be so much more in the next few books because of her past and because of who she truly is and what her rights are as the heir to this throne in Terrasen, which could change a lot of things and will definitely change her role as the King's Champion. So there's a lot for interpretation for the future books. I'm really excited to see Celaena's decisions, especially in Heir of Fire, which is the book that picks up after this one. This was the second one published. Heir of Fire is the fourth one published, and in between is Assassin's Blade, which is actually the one that I am going to be reading next. I am jumping back from Crown of Midnight into Assassin's Blade to read the prologue, to see Celaena's background and get all of that information, and then I will jump into Heir of Fire, which picks up from Crown of Midnight. So there was a lot to discuss. I loved Crown of Midnight. There was a lot of things I tried to allude to in my updates about how I was feeling and just how the storyline is developing, so I hope that I got a lot of those thoughts across, but I know that there's going to be so much more that comes up once I get to Heir of Fire. But I'm excited to jump back, get a little bit of Celaena's past, and see how all of the connections that we've found in the first two books comes from Assassin's Blade. Wonder if we're gonna get any of like her Fae ancestry, history, obviously becoming an assassin. I'm just really curious to see how this book is going to play out, but I'm really excited to get into it. This was a super, super long update, so I'll try to cut it down a little bit, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll stick around to see my reviews and reactions to Assassin's Blade. But until then, I had a great time reading Crown of Midnight, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll stick around. But until then, happy reading!